The sky over Tatarstan was pitch black, the air cold and still. Most of the region slept, unaware of the threat moving silently through the darkness. Suddenly, a sharp whistling pierced the quiet, followed by a blinding explosion. The Veneer Progress Plant, a sprawling industrial complex, was hit. A second, more powerful blast erupted moments later, flames clawing at the sky. The attack was swift, brutal, and completely unexpected. Workers on the night shift were thrown into chaos. Alarms blared. People scrambled for cover. Confusion reigned. This was no accident. It was a deliberate act of war. The strike had bypassed Russia's sophisticated defenses, hitting the heart of its military-industrial complex. First responders arrived to devastation. The main production hall was a twisted skeleton, fire raging out of control. Thick smoke billowed for miles, the destruction visible at dawn. The attack lasted only minutes, but its impact would echo for months, even years. The message was unmistakable. Nowhere was safe. Ukraine's new weapons had reached deep into Russian territory. The rules of war had changed overnight. The Veneer Progress Plant was now a smoldering symbol of that shift. The world watched as the flames lit up the horizon, proof that distance was no longer a shield. The strike was a warning, one that would not be ignored. For Russia, the illusion of security was shattered. For Ukraine, it was a demonstration of new reach and resolve. The war had entered a new phase, and the consequences would be far-reaching. The plant's ruins marked the dawn of a new kind of conflict. The silence after the explosions was heavy with meaning. The era of remote, precise strikes had truly arrived. The world would never see this war the same way again. On paper, Veneer Progress was a civilian factory, producing wood veneers and laminates. It provided jobs and seemed an ordinary part of the local economy. But beneath this facade, it played a darker role. The plant was a disguised cog in Russia's war machine. It produced composite materials for the fuselage of Shahed-type drones, Juran-2 in Russian service. These drones terrorized Ukrainian cities, cheap and effective, straining defenses. Veneer Progress was a key link in this chain of destruction. Its output kept the drone assembly lines running. The Kremlin hid the plant deep in Russian territory, under civilian cover, surrounded by industry and people. The assumption, Ukraine wouldn't risk a strike here. That calculation proved fatally wrong. Ukrainian intelligence grew sharper, their weapons more precise. Many workers had no idea their labor fueled the war. They believed they made materials for furniture, not weapons. Each sheet of veneer became another potential drone. The factory was a microcosm of the war, deception, ordinary lives, and hidden violence. Its destruction exposed the truth behind the lie. The weapon that struck Veneer Progress was the Ukrainian AN-196 Ludi, fierce, clever, and cost-effective. Not a high-tech missile, but a propeller-driven drone built from composites and wood. Its design made it nearly invisible to Russian radar, blending in with birds or background noise. Slow and low-flying, it hugged the terrain, slipping past defenses. Powered by a small, efficient engine, it could travel over 1,200 kilometers. Its warhead was strong enough to cripple factories or fuel depots. The Ludi was a one-way weapon, a kamikaze drone, sacrificing itself for maximum impact. Its true genius lay in guidance, not just GPS, but inertial navigation, terrain matching, and satellite imagery. It flew autonomously, following a pre-programmed route, immune to most jamming. No human pilot was needed once it launched. It was relentless, silent, and precise. The Ludi was a ghost in the machine, appearing anywhere, anytime. It was a tool of asymmetric warfare, designed to exploit Russia's blind spots. Each drone was a calculated risk, but the potential payoff was enormous. The Ludi's success redefined what was possible for Ukraine's military. It proved that innovation could outmaneuver brute force. The age of the cheap, long-range strike had arrived. The Ludi was its harbinger. The strike on Veneer Progress was months in the making. Ukrainian intelligence mapped the factory's true purpose, layout, and defenses. Every detail was scrutinized. The risk was enormous. The drones would fly for hours over hostile territory, with no guarantee of success. But crippling Russia's drone production was worth the gamble. The launch happened under cover of darkness. Special forces fueled and programmed the Ludi drones, plotting a complex route to avoid Russian radar. The drones flew low, hugging the earth, crossing the front line and the vast Russian plains. Weather and electronic warfare were constant threats. Operators had to be both soldiers and meteorologists, anticipating every variable. Russian jammers were everywhere, but the Ludi's navigation was built to resist. Once launched, the drones were on their own. No communication, no course correction. Each passing minute was a victory. Each hour a step closer to the target. Some drones would fail, but all it took was one to get through. This was the new calculus of war risk, reward, and relentless innovation. The operators waited in tense silence, tracking progress on a map. The mission was a delicate dance of technology, geography, and luck. When the strike hit, it was proof that the gamble had paid off. The destruction of Veneer progress was a strategic blow. It showed that even deep inside Russia, nothing was untouchable. The war's front lines had blurred. The age of remote precision warfare was here. Russia's air defense network was built to be impenetrable, layers of radar, missiles, and jammers. But the attack on Veneer progress exposed a fatal flaw. Most advanced defenses were concentrated at the front and around Moscow, leaving the vast interior vulnerable. The Kremlin assumed distance was protection. Ukrainian planners saw opportunity. Russian systems were tuned for fast, high-altitude threats, not small, slow drones made of composites. The Ludi slipped through, a needle in a haystack of electronic noise. Even when detected, interception was rare. Jammers couldn't stop inertial navigation, and missile batteries had to be in the right place at the right time. The Russian shield was built for sledgehammers, but it was being defeated by 1,000 tiny needles. The attack forced a painful reassessment of what secure really meant. The illusion of an electronic fortress was shattered. Ukraine had found and exploited the gaps. The rules of air defense had changed overnight. At sunrise, the devastation was clear. The Veneer Progress plant was a ruin. Its production hall collapsed, machinery destroyed. The strike had hit the facility's heart, crippling Russia's drone supply chain. Months, maybe a year, would be needed to rebuild. Ukraine's air defenses gained a crucial respite. Lives were saved. The war wasn't won, but a key Russian strategy was disrupted. Emergency crews sifted through rubble, the usual factory bustle replaced by grim silence. Russian media called it an industrial fire, but satellite images and social media told the truth. The Kremlin's silence was an admission of shock. The psychological impact was as great as the physical damage. The strike proved Ukraine could reach deep into Russia. The illusion of safety was gone. For the Russian military, it was a wake-up call. Their defenses had been breached, their strategy countered. The ruins stood as a monument to failure. The war's front had moved, right to Russia's heartland. Moscow's official reports were terse, downplaying the attack. But for locals, the strike was a nightmare. Explosions shattered the night, homes shook, and fear took hold. The war was no longer distant. It was at their doorstep. Inside the factory, workers, most unaware of the plant's true purpose, were caught in chaos. The blast and fire caused panic and injury, the workplace turning deadly in seconds. The community's trust in authorities was shattered. Promises of safety and protection lay in ruins. Anxiety spread. If this could happen, what else was at risk? Every unfamiliar sound in the sky became a source of dread. The hidden cost of the strike was psychological: sleepless nights, worried families, a new sense of vulnerability. The drone had imported the fear of the front line into the Russian heartland. Ordinary citizens, once shielded from war, now faced its reality. The conflict had come home. The boundaries between front and rear had vanished. The war's reach was now personal. The strike sent shockwaves through Russian command. Their defensive posture was exposed as inadequate. Air defenses were pulled from the front to protect factories and infrastructure. Every redeployment left new gaps for Ukraine to exploit. Russian troops at the front became more vulnerable. The Kremlin was forced into a defensive crouch, reacting instead of acting. Ukrainian pilots and drone operators found the skies slightly less dangerous. The single strike had a cascading effect, disrupting drone production and weakening battlefield defenses. It was a masterstroke of asymmetric warfare. Russia scrambled for new countermeasures, acoustic sensors, advanced radar, hunter-killer drones. But innovation takes time. Ukraine had the advantage. The arms race accelerated, but the balance had shifted. Ukraine had exposed a weakness and would keep pressing it. The war's dynamics had changed, and Russia was on the back foot. The ruins of Veneer Progress symbolize a new era of warfare. The attack proved that geographic depth no longer guarantees security. Cheap, precise drones have compressed the battlefield. Front and rear are now blurred. Ukraine, with limited resources, struck a strategic blow through ingenuity and adaptation. The Ludi drone democratized long-range strike capability, changing global security calculations. Modern industrial societies are vulnerable. A single factory can be a critical weak point. Future wars will target these nodes, raising ethical questions about civilian risk. The war in Ukraine is a cycle of innovation and counter-innovation. Success belongs to those who adapt fastest. The Ludi's triumph was Ukraine's ability to spot and exploit a Russian vulnerability. The future of conflict will be shaped by learning and adaptation, not just firepower. From the ashes of a factory, the unsettling face of modern war has emerged. The world is watching and learning.